I thought, we started with the ball. I thought we generated some really, really good looks early, and we didn't score. We had a lot of empty possessions on what I thought those guys did a good job executing and generating good shots. I thought from that point, I thought it impacted, not only on our defense, but they got up there pretty early in the first quarter, and then we really responded really well, and we're up by 3 at the half. They're going to kind of come out and respond that, and with as good as they are scoring, I thought that's some of that early part of the third quarter where we had a couple turnovers that they really capitalized on. Tonight I thought I think they scored 20 points off our turnovers. Obviously they shot the ball well, that's what they do. But I really felt like in the third quarter there was so many empty possessions early where we had, I thought, pretty good opportunities. Just couldn't finish enough plays.
It felt like the rotations with Drummond and Vooch, specifically in that quarter, but kind of throughout the game, maybe were struggling a little bit more than they had in past games. Did you see that?
Yeah, I'll take a look at it on the film. I think with some of the things we've dealt with injury-wise, it's something that we're going to have to look at. We tried to go with it when they went big. And, I'll see it has been pretty good, offensively. I didn't think we finished great. Certainly they're a hard team to match up with in transition. But probably would need to take a look more at film because sometimes when you look at the numbers, you look at the score, what happens, sometimes it's hard just to say, well, those two guys are the primary, the ones that are responsible. So I think, before you look at the film, it's hard to pass judgment on that exactly, what actually happened, during those stint together.
Well, you just mentioned it there, but you gained that momentum at the end of the second quarter and then just lost it right away coming out. Was that, that seemed like there was a major flip?
Yeah, I think that to me, Sam, was it. I think that, the first possession and it happens. Like I thought we did a really nice job executing. We got Vooch really deep in the pocket. He missed that little jump hook. I thought Kobe had a shot with a runner. We had a turnover. We had some pretty good looks. We just came up empty, and obviously with the way they score, we were never able to get out in transition. The game got slowed. They're a team that switches a lot defensively. I thought in the second quarter, because of the pace of the game and the fact that they weren't all over our bodies switching, when the defense is constantly set for them, and I think that first 6 minutes, for the most part, we were playing against set defense. Either we fouled, or it came up empty, or they scored and we were taking the ball out of the net, and it probably allowed them to set their defense.
Also seemed like they really made Kobe work, especially not only the guys they put on him, but they were trapping, jumping out with a big each time. How did that affect him?
I sometimes they did it. They were doing it more on open side pick and rolls where there was an empty corner where they could be aggressive and pull across. Some of the stuff in the middle of the floor, maybe not quite as much. I think Kobe's learning to deal with all that stuff. I think because of the year he's had and how well he's played, teams are game planning to do different things against him. And I think the more he can see those kind of defenses, he'll adjust to it and he'll be better from it. I thought he had some opportunities. One of the things that we struggled with in the first quarter is I thought we did a good job of getting downhill and getting to the rim. We didn't make great decisions at the rim. We had a lot of shots blocked. I thought what helped us in the second quarter is when we did get down into the paint and deep to the rim, we elected not to take some of those shots and we sprayed it out. I think Kobe's really good at that. He helps us when he does that. So the more he can get downhill, maybe if he's not scoring, but he can get other guys shots, that helps.
What do you think was the difference for Vooch first half, second half? I think he had 20 in the first, only 2 in the second half.
Yeah, I don't know. I tried to come right back to him there on the first play coming out of the third quarter. I think we got him in a spot. Sometimes it happens. I think he had fairly, decent looks. He had stuff around the rim that he was making in the first half. He didn't make him in the second half. He's probably a better guy to ask. I always feel like he's a really conscientious offensive player in terms of he knows what his shots are and where he's, most productive and effective. It just happened to be in that second half. The same shots that he was making in the first half weren't going down in the second.
How much, when you play a team like this, Boston, who's on top of the conference, how much of a measurement do you look at it, your team versus against playing?
I think so. I think when you're always looking against elite teams, and there's teams that have championship aspirations. Clearly, they're one of them. I always think it's good. I think that third quarter when we weren't scoring, they maybe took their intensity up to a different level. And I thought when we came up with so many empty possessions, we didn't match, that intensity, so to speak. And you have to, I said when I called the timeout, I'm like, we're generating really, really good shots. We're doing a really good job there. But we cannot lose, the intensity defensively. And if you want to get into a rhythm on offense, get stops. Get out in transition, generate some easy baskets. And we just, for that first 6 minutes, we couldn't. And even though we were up by 3 and it stayed right around 5 or 7 for a period of time, then when it got up to 14, 16, we were just kind of playing uphill the rest of the half.
How much of that result in your mind was tied to intensity? You've been talking about that a lot, but they're so talented as well in some of the shot making. Like when you look at the balance of what you could do versus their talent.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think that, listen, you got to give them credit. But you know what? Here's what I would say is I don't think their shot making was any different from the first half to the second half. They were making shots in the first half. I mean, they shot the ball. I think they made 10 threes in the first half, if I'm not mistaken. So maybe not at the clip, but that's what they do. I think that when you're playing against a team like that, when you've got to capitalize on some opportunities, and we just didn't capitalize, on offense. And when you've got a team that you can play really good defense and they still can make a bucket, I think, a lot of times that can become a little bit deflating, where, geez, I had an easy shot, we're challenging like crazy. I think the first half, we challenged 90% of their shots, so you're not going to do much better. And the thing that's hard when you start running around trapping early against them, the ball gets sprayed out, and then to your point, you're running at those guys, and then it becomes even that much more difficult. But they shot the ball over us, very similar to what they did the first game against us in Boston.
Coach, being with 3 at halftime, what was your speech to the players in the locker room at the time?
Well, I mean, I talked to him a little bit about Tatum. I think he was 2 for 7 at the half, that he was going to come out and be a lot more aggressive. We had talked about some adjustments and some changes on, Brown, just because he had 20 in that first half and he was, going pretty well. But the biggest thing was that we were starting with the ball and that the intensity level was going to go up. We needed to get off to a good start. And again, I don't think that we necessarily got off to a bad start. I think that we missed some opportunities, and with as explosive as they are shooting and scoring the basketball, you're going to have to match to a certain standpoint. And I don't know how many possessions it was, but it seemed like it was a period of time where we kind of were held scoreless. And, I don't want to say that it had nothing to do with their defense, but I also feel like we also generated some shots that you're going to take and you're going to live with. We just weren't able to knock them down.
Last one.
One more quick one. You obviously made that comeback, had a big second quarter, like 40 points or something, and sort of got the lead again. But his team's sort of a mockery. Shoot all these. How do you combat a team like that who's shooting 53s a game when you're not coming anywhere near that? What else do you have to do to be in games with a team that makes threes like this?
Well, the thing is interesting, and they're unique, and I don't know what they would be per se, against other teams, but they're a team that I think on contested shots probably shoots well above the league average, right? Where I think you get into trouble with them is when you start just trying to spread out your defense, and now all of a sudden you're all the way out. And we were out, but you have to provide some rim protection because they get to the free throw line quite a bit. Both Porzingis and Tatum take a high level of free throws, so you gotta defend them without fouling. A lot of times they are posting up and they're playing near the basket, so when you do trap and they kick it back out, you're having to close out to those guys sometimes. But I thought for the most part, tonight, listen, I think certain things you go into the game saying, okay, we're living with this stuff. Here's stuff we're going to live with. What we didn't want to live with was putting them to the free throw line. And I thought we fouled too much in the second half. But the fouling becomes a major issue, when you start fouling them with the way they shoot the basketball. But, a lot of times all those threes above the break are not created all equal, and they didn't maybe in that second quarter shoot it the way they did in the first quarter. But